Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to zoom in on just 3 verses in Matthew 26. Now, on the surface, they might just look like some simple meal prep, but trust me, they are setting the stage for one of the most significant meals in all of history. So yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, so our story kicks off with a really down-to-earth question. Picture this. It's the eve of Passover, which is, a massive deal, a huge event. And the disciples, they've got a logistics problem on their hands.
And that brings us to verse 17. The disciples come to Jesus and ask, "Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?" It's so straightforward, right? Hey, where should we set this up? They're all set to get things ready. They just need to know where. And this one simple question, man, it kicks off a whole chain of events that were planned from the very beginning.
Okay, so the timing here is actually super important. The verse mentions the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now, you might wonder what that means exactly. Well, according to Meyer's commentary, we're talking about Thursday, the 14th of Nisan. Even though the feast officially started at sundown, the whole day was popularly looped into the festival. So this little detail helps us pinpoint the exact day all of this starts to unfold.
So you see, this is way more than just finding a dinner spot. That one little question, where? It's like the key in the ignition for a plan that's been divinely set in motion, and Jesus is just now starting to reveal it.
So you'd expect a simple answer to a simple question, right? Let's go to Peter's cousin's house or something. But nope, what Jesus gives them is anything but normal. He responds with these instructions that are incredibly specific, but also, well, kind of cryptic.
Let's look at verse 18. Jesus says, "Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The Master saith, My time is at hand, I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples." Think about that. No name, no address, just go find this guy. He's basically sending them on a mission that's a pure test of faith in his divine knowledge. And that message they have to deliver, my time is at hand. Wow, that is just a chillingly direct thing to say.
So let's break this down. It's basically a 4-step command. Step 1, go into the city. Step 2, find such a man. Step 3, give him the message, my time is at hand. And Step 4, state your purpose, I will keep the Passover at thy house. It almost sounds like a secret password, doesn't it? Every single step depends on this prearranged encounter that only Jesus knows about.
But why all the mystery? You have to ask, right? Why not just say it, go to Joseph's house on 3rd Street? What was the point of doing it this way?
Well, here's the reason, and it's a powerful one. Coming from Benson's commentary, this wasn't just for dramatic effect. It was a demonstration, a deliberate display of his divine foresight. He needed to show his disciples, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that everything that was about to go down, the suffering, the betrayal, it was all foreknown. It was all part of the plan. This was like a final lesson, to steel their faith for the absolute horror that was just around the corner.
Okay, so the disciples get these pretty strange instructions, and they just do it. They head off just as they were told. And that brings us to our final verse here, and the actual prep work for this incredibly unique Passover meal.
And verse 19 tells us exactly that. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Boom. Simple obedience. They followed his weird instructions, they found the guy, and they got everything ready. Their faith paid off because it all went down precisely the way Jesus said it would.
But let's pause on that phrase for a second. They made ready the Passover. What does that actually mean? What did they have to do? And more importantly, what was so different about this meal?
So a traditional Passover meal, right? It has a few essential components. You've got your unleavened bread, you've got the bitter herbs, you've got wine, and then of course the main event, the Paschal lamb. But at this specific meal, the Last Supper, there was something huge missing from the table.
And this is the key detail. This comes from Ellicott's commentary. The Last Supper was happening on Thursday night. But the lambs for the official Passover feast, they weren't even scheduled to be slain in the temple until Friday afternoon around 3 p.m. So do you see the problem? There was no way for them to have the main course. The centerpiece of the entire meal was missing.
Or was it? See, the lamb wasn't actually missing at all. It was sitting right there at the head of the table. The commentary puts it so powerfully. The meal was prepared without a lamb because Christ was the lamb, the ultimate Passover sacrifice. And he was going to be slain the very next day at the very same hour the other lambs were being sacrificed in the temple. The symbolism is just breathtaking.
So that leaves us with something to really think about. Knowing all this, knowing that the most important part of the traditional meal was intentionally left off the table because it was on the table in human form, how does that change the way you see the Last Supper? How does that transform its meaning for you?